New AI technology may make it easier for your car to read your mood and your health while driving. Auto and tech companies showed off these monitoring tools at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. They use cameras and sensors in the vehicle's cabin to determine whether the driver is buckled up, eating, angry, and can even take their vitals. It's all in response to new regulations requiring automakers to include technology to detect distracted and drowsy drivers. But privacy advocates have expressed concerns about how much driver data is being collected.
So every new car could become a surveillance machine by 2027, and it may decide if you can drive. I mean, this is exactly what these movies, the surveillance movies, talk about, like what you don't want it to be, is what it's showing. So let's read this through. This isn't some distant concept or experimental feature that might come up in a few years. By 2027, every car sold in the U.S. could be required to actively monitor the person behind the wheel. That means watching your eyes, tracking your behavior, and constantly evaluating whether you're alert enough to drive or not. For a lot of drivers, that starts to feel a lot less safe and more surveillance. So the law that's quietly changing cars, tucked into a broader federal safety initiative, is a requirement for impaired driving detection technology in all new vehicles. The goal sounds simple enough: reduce crashes caused by drunk or fatigued drivers. It's a problem that has been around for decades, okay? And to do that, automakers will need to install a system that monitors drivers in real time.
It seems like every day artificial intelligence plays a bigger role in all of our lives, and soon it will be required in all new vehicles. News 10's Ben Verbanek explains how a new law might impact one of your biggest personal assets.
Imagine a world where you get in your own car to go for a drive, but before you can start the engine or shift out of park, an artificial intelligence system is scanning your face, analyzing your behaviors, and determining if you're alert enough to drive. It sounds like a far-off science fiction story, but it's not. It's happening soon. In 2021, the federal government voted through a new safety initiative saying that every new car sold starting in 2027 could be required to monitor the person behind the wheel. By scanning your face, eyes, and tracking your behavior, new cars could determine if you are a risk to drive and stop you from starting the car. The goal is to cut down on drunk driving and improve road safety, but some people have concerns.
Have you ever had a conversation with artificial intelligence? Have you ever gone into the help button on anything from your cellular telephone to your insurance provider and tried to ask it a question? AI, even in the most well-meaning circumstances, screws just about everything up.
Now imagine there was an emergency outside the truck. An accident, something terrible on the ranch with a chainsaw. And I jump in this truck, but the truck, it won't shift into drive. Why? Because the cameras and sensors inside this cab won't let it shift, because it detects my eyes are big, there's a lot of emotion, there's some panic, and it doesn't feel that I'm fit to drive. Now that's not science fiction, that is happening because Ford just filed the patents. Ford actually has a series of patents down at the U.S. Patent and Trade Office that deal with the sensors and cameras inside the cab of their truck. And if the sensors in that truck determine that you're not fit to drive, that truck will not actually shift from park to drive. Now they already have a system called telematics, and that's where they can actually pull up cameras in real time inside the cab of their fleet vehicles. Now they actually market this to insurance companies, because the truth is, this is really about who owns the data and who owns the liability. Now your name might actually be on the title of this truck, and you may have paid for it, but you don't own it.
This is why, Ben, I have a car, and this is no joke, you know this. It has no power locks, it has no power windows, it reports to no one. It barely has a terrestrial radio. I'm not trying to evade anyone, but I don't want the government knowing anything about me.
Local car dealer David Fusen of Fusen Automotive tells me that AI is already in some cars with self-driving auto cruise features.
It does watch your eyes. If they're closed, it vibrates your seat. It's watching. And if you look away, it lets you look and enjoy, but it wants your eyes on the road.
Because it's coupled with some pretty serious impacts where you can't drive the car. It won't let you start the car, or it could limit your speeds in some cases. So having a machine monitor you as a human and decide what you can and cannot do with the vehicle while stopping drunk drivers sounds great. That's, in my opinion, a massive violation of privacy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe having it installed after someone has gotten a DUI, but just every car being retrofitted with this, kind of seems like a bit much right now. But maybe we're just not there yet. Maybe we're just not there yet. Who knows how we'll be feeling? I mean, says 2027. That's not far away, but I don't know. It's a pretty drastic leap.
Usually when the NHTSA issues rules for automakers, they give 2 to 3 years heads up. So the original launch date was 2027. It's possible, but it's more likely it's going to get pushed back a year or two. That said, it is coming. The law was signed. It was passed. February of this year, Trump funded it, which means there's no other off-ramps unless they overturn it somehow. It's an actual signed law, which is terrifying. And it's not just the privacy side. It goes beyond your vehicle because the data doesn't stay in your car. When they're tracking your head motion, they're tracking your awakeness, your alertness, your suspected sobriety. That data gets sent up to the automaker, and their servers, their cloud tracks that on a driver level and an owner level, who owns the car. And there's historical precedent where automakers sell that data to data brokers like LexisNexis, who then historically built a driver safety model that was sold to insurance companies. They're trying to make it fuzzy and de-identify it is the word. But at the end of the day, it gets back to your insurance companies and they can adjust your personal rates based on your car spying on you. And I know some insurance companies have that as an opt-in to let your car track you and report back. I think Allstate does that. But this is not an optional thing. This is every new car would automatically report it. And that's just the insurance implications. Then you think about police, you think about other government organizations who buy from these data brokers. You lose control of a pretty private moment when you're driving your car by yourself, and there's nothing in the law that restricts where the data can go and who they can sell it to.
For people who may think this sounds like science fiction, how much of this technology is already in these cars?
Oh, the technology is pretty much there. Now, back in 2021, under the Biden administration, they passed a law under the Infrastructure Act, and that was meant for roads and bridges, and hidden in there was those flock cameras that collect all your data, but also Section 24220, if you want to look it up. It is the kill switch. Now, they're not calling it that. They're calling it driver-impaired systems. Now, some lobbyist was able to slide this in, and we have been unable to get it removed. What it does is it tracks information, some already being collected, in additional information. It tracks your eyes, which we know, because I'm sure on any vehicle that you have that's newer, it says, oh, you might want to take a break, get a cup of coffee. You've seen that a lot of different brands.
Right.
Because they want to make sure you're looking at the road. I get that. But now they're advancing this to a whole new level. We know that our phones already listen to us, but now those center screens are also going to listen. We know for 100% fact, and I've actually interviewed one of the leaders in the company, the rear view mirror collects all that data also. There's 2 little cameras in there, and what they do is they not just track the driver, the passenger, second, third row, so it knows your pets, your kids, your passengers, and it collects all that data. All that data mixed with your eyes, mixed with what it's listening to, is going to be added in with one thing that has not been developed yet. But believe me, they're moving fast. When you press your start-stop button, it's going to detect whether you have something in your system that a computer, not a human, I know, you're going to blow your mind, decides if you're safe to drive.
I don't like that. I don't think many people do. I mean, this is raising a lot of red flags. What are these systems actually designed to do, Lauren?
Like General Motors has something called gate walking, and they have not used it yet. They have a patent on this, and I'm actually tracking down every brand's patents right now, so it's going to take me some time. But I found General Motors, as you walk toward the vehicle, it's going to decide if you're safe to drive. Now, What if you had a leg day at the gym, or maybe you twisted your ankle? It's going to see, wow, you might not be safe to drive. And Ford has a biometrics where they're not just tracking your eyes, they're checking all the information, putting it together, and a computer's going to make a decision if you're safe to drive. And now you're thinking, well, this is all understandable. We don't want people drinking and driving or under the influence of anything. Nobody's in favor of that.
Right.
So they use that to pass it through. And Representative Thomas Massey, Chip Roy, Representative Self, there's been a couple of them up there, Byron Donalds, have all said, hey, I know there's on both sides, because even AOC doesn't like this. They've all said, hold on, we don't like this, but it would take more than 50% in order for them to strip it out of the law. So it's been read twice on the House floor. Both times it passed, leaving the funds in there. And I want to know where those funds are going, because that says a lot to me. Somebody was making money.
And you're right. This could create a lot of situations where drivers are wrongfully flagged as impaired, whether it's stress, a gym day, medical condition, emergency situation.
Anything.
Anything. How real is that concern? How far away do you think we are from that technology being reliable?
Reliable is one thing. In place, very soon. We're already starting to see cameras. I review cars also on my Car Smarts channel, and I was just testing. I won't say the brand, so I don't get backlash on it. But I was test driving a brand, and you can't accelerate if it thinks there's another car in front of you. You can't go into a corner a little more aggressively than you think. The car actually won't let you accelerate. In Europe today, this is in place. This is functioning. So if it thinks that you are under stress, it won't start. This vehicle won't get you. Now think of, there's a million scenarios. Your mother needs you, your kids need you,
right.
Your wife's delivering a baby, someone at work needs you, it's a rush. Or what if you're a first responder, a fireman or a policeman? You're going to be under stress to get there to help someone else or yourself, and you're not going to be able to do that because the car's going to say, hold on, you're too stressed. And how is it going to do that? Eyes, it's going to listen in the car. It's already watching in your car, collecting that data. And that decision's being done by a computer. It's not being done by a person sitting in Detroit going, I think you're okay. So the problem is, now what I call you're in kill switch jail. I should probably patent that term, but or copyright it, because I've been using it. Kill switch jail is, how do I get out of it? You can't call your local dealer. You can't call the police department or a manufacturer. There's no one to call to get out of it. The car will decide when it thinks you've had enough time to calm down. Now, if you're in a panic going somewhere, you're going to get even more stressed. You're going to get even more upset. And collecting all that data, plus what's going through those flock cameras, it knows your license plate, what your car looks like, who you are, where you're going. Your phone does this too. Take all that data together, and all those data centers that you're constantly talking about on this channel and literally everywhere, and all that data is going to be used to decide, are you safe to drive? Now, the problem is we'd like to get this removed. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of backlash. So how would you do that? Well, the House would have to pass the bill. They're going to strip the funding, pass it to the Senate, and then the president would sign it. The problem is we need to speak out. We need, I don't care where you stand politically, this affects everybody.
When's the last time we heard something like this? Do you guys remember after September 11th, they gave us the Patriot Act, and they sold it as protection, Pat. Like, stop terrorism, keep everybody safe. Next thing you know, they collected all of our data on everybody. Every single American, they were like, well, guys, the war on terror, that was Bush Jr., his favorite thing. But now the same idea, different excuse. Back then it was terrorists, now it's unsafe drivers, but the move is the same. More surveillance, more control. That's why people don't trust this. And I'm not a fan of it. It sounds so good on paper. But the part that people are waking up to, this isn't just gonna sit there quietly. It's collecting your data, a lot of it, and then once that data exists, it doesn't just disappear. It gets stored, it gets analyzed, it gets potentially shared. Remember, Tom, they're trying to do that predictive, like crime, pre-crime, if you're gonna do this, are you gonna kill somebody, and then they'll stop you. It's almost like a Minority Report. But insurance companies already want access to this kind of data, obviously. Regulators want more control, and now you have AI making judgment calls in real time. And I'm just not a fan of it, Pat. Like, who's to say my eyes are kind of yawning, or I'm not even yawning, Pat. I have something in my eye, or I'm squinting. What, they're gonna monitor me and shut my freaking car off? I'm not a fan of it at all.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this channel and want to support what I do, you can join our Patreon community. For as little as $4 per month, you'll help support this channel and get early access to upcoming videos before everyone else. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.
I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. He which testifieth these things saith, Surely I come quickly. Amen. Even so, come, Lord Jesus.